Welcome to the Art of Happy Her. I am your host, Sandy, and if this is your first time listening, thank you. Hope you listen with an open heart and that you return. If this is not your first time, welcome, tribe. As you already know, we have a format in the Art of Happy Her podcast, and we usually ask our guests for what is the intention for the recording or for that episode or for our meeting. And when I am recording by myself, I usually have a journal prompt so we can jot a few things and connect to ourselves. And then I usually ask our guests their zodiac astrological birth chart. Most of the times, people know their um, their zodiac sign, and they know because of what month they were born, they can tell you what's their sign. When you hear some people telling you the three things that are like their moon, their rising, and their sun sign, those are people that know a little more about the time and place and date that they were born and what the stars and the planets, how they were aligned the moment that they were born. So I just wanted to talk to you today about birth charts and the astrological birth chart and the zodiac. But before we start, I would like to state my intention, and my intention is for us to have fun because when I'm around other people, not only in the episode, I like to just have a little feel and fun, and I think that it's a good opening or a good opener to have a feel about people. It's not to judge other people. It's not used to judge, and it's not used to predict any fate, because we are free will, and because there's no right or wrong, and there's no bad or good. It's just it's just is. Before we start, I want to talk to you about a journal prompt that's been this week has been a theme. And what I wrote down on my journal was, have you ever asked yourself, do you like them? And the reason why I wrote that down, what I wrote was, have you ever asked yourself, do you like them versus do they like me? And it's funny because this week it's just been like, it's been blissful. It's been a great week, but I've been struggling with, can I talk to people about this, about astrology? Um and the reason why I was thinking that was because I was feeling like, is it too much woo woo, like and and will they like it and all this and all that. And then I started journaling and I came up with that um, prompt because why do we why do we think that, or why do we feel so much about how other people see things and not the other way around? So I'm glad that that I was able to talk about that to myself and journal about that, because here I am today. And yeah, the question is, have you ever asked yourself, do you like them versus do they like me? It changes the power dynamics of things. When you start asking yourself, do I even want to be there when you're not invited? Or when you feel that you're not wanted or you're not liked somewhere. Have you ever stopped and thought to yourself, do I even like them? It changes everything. And without further ado, let's begin. A birth chart. Let's talk about birth chart. And by the way, this is the first time that I am, listen, guys, with you guys, there's a lot of firsts. And for me, this is the first time that I'm recording and I have the camera on. I'm not looking at the camera, but it's on and I'm pushing myself. And yeah, I'm proud. Anyway, a birth chart. It explains astrology more in depth than just your sun sign. And I want to talk to you before we get into that. I want to tell you the difference between astronomy and astrology. And if you hear me shuffling things or um, kind of tripping through my words or on my words, is because I been doing some research and I've been reading some books and I've been writing, and I have cue cards. So that's why, because it's a lot of information, and I want to be able to give it to you in a way that it's understandable and at the same time that it's simple. So I hope that that's the way it comes out. So a birth chart, it explains astrology more in depth than just your sun sign. And the difference between astronomy and astrology is that astronomy is the scientific study of celestial bodies based on facts and research. Astrology is the interpretation of celestial bodies. The way that we interpret what we see in the sky, it's very artful. It's your point of view, it's subjective, but more than anything it's fun. Okay, so this is just for fun, and at the same time you kind of will understand later on why, um if it resonates, why it does. uh I've been reading a couple of books on astrology, and I found out things about myself actually. One, that I know more than the average person about astrology, and two, that I am not an expert. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you with that. One book is that I recommend is The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest. And another book that I recommend is The Complete Idiot's Guide to Astrology. I have the fourth edition. I'm sure they have more. Um, and this one is by Madeline, Gerwick, and Lisa Lenard. And I am going to make sure that we um, put the books on the bio notes of this show so that way you can click and get them, if that's a thing. Also, an app that you can look at, it's CoStar, because co-star, because it's very simple, and it just gives you, when you type in your time and date and your date of birth and all of that, it gives you a snapshot of of your chart, just in case you didn't know. And another on a website that is also really good is astro.com. Astro.com. A birth chart, like I said, is a snapshot of the sky at the time and location that you were born. And you will need the time, date, and location you were born. You were born to obtain this information. If you don't have the time that you were born, then you can apply midnight to it. For example, I was born on a Saturday, and my mom said I you was born at 11:45 or 11:38 p.m. And I went to look at it at my birth certificate, and it didn't have it. I'm just giving you an example. And so it didn't have it, and you kind of don't know if that's accurate, or if you know that's accurate. If you do know that your mom knows or your dad, um, then you input that information. But if you don't, you can use midnight. Um, it's not that accurate for a lot of the planets um, to align themselves when you use midnight, but it's the most accurate compared to not having any time. Um, f- uh, the reason why it's not that accurate, I'm not gonna go into it too much on that one because it's not even that clear to me myself. But the one of the reasons is because your every 2 hours, Earth since Earth is moving every 2 hours, your rising sun is gonna change. So depending on that information, that's why we say use midnight, because most likely, within that 2 hour, you're still good. Okay. Anyway, depending on that information, a birth chart is a picture of what's in the sky. It's like a map of the planets and the sun and the moon of the day that you were born. So with birth charts, they there's this thing called primal triad, and the primal triad is like a triangle, and that's just me telling you because I seen it, I know about it, but that's not really important. What's important is that in the triad, you'll see that there's a sun on the top of the triangle, and then on the lower side of the triangle, on your left side corner, on the corner of the triangle, there's a ascending, and then on the right side, there's the moon. So sometimes you hear people tell you, I am sun, my sun sign is a Scorpio, my ascending is a Leo, and my moon is Capricorn. That's when you're like, what does that mean? How does this person even knows this? And this is why this person knows this, because they did research, and they had someone either do their birth chart, or they did it themselves. On these days, you could do it yourself on the computer, on 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 the internet, right? Google it. um the ascending, sometimes you hear people say rising sun, and the ascending is the rising sign or rising sun, but most likely you hear some people just say ascending. The three more important signs are these three: your sun, your moon, and your ascending. I'm going to give you a fun fact. In ancient times, and this I read it somewhere, I don't remember where I read this. This was not in the books that I shared with you. It's just something that I have in my brain. And I wrote it down because I think it's interesting, since I'm always thinking about feminism, and the world that we live in. Um so a fun fact is that in ancient times, we considered our moon sign to be the one sign that we shared with people, and patriarchy changed that. So back in the days, in ancient times, instead of me coming up to you, or you coming up to me and asking me what's your zodiac sign, I would have not said Scorpio. I would have said my moon sign, which is Capricorn, because most of the times the person, even though I was born in November and I am a Scorpio, most of the times people identify, they're very connected with their moon sign. You see that because emotionally they feel like their moon sign. But patriarchy changed that. The moon is considered female energy, and the sun is considered male energy. And with the persecution of witches and blah, 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 all that changed. And now we just say our sun sign, which is a male energy. And it's the one that people identify with nowadays. So you ask yourself your sun sign, what does that mean? So depending on the day that you were born and the season, your sun sign represents your ego, your personality, self-image, and the core of who you are. So another fun fact is that it is said that while we are young, I write so sloppy that sometimes I don't even understand what I write. I wrote this down because this is another fun fact that I know, that while we were young, we don't we don't show too much of those traits. So when you first meet me, I'm gonna tell you I'm a Scorpio, and it's just not gonna click. You're gonna be like, what? It just doesn't, like, it doesn't. I don't meet the archetype, right? The archetype of a Scorpio with these traits. So, but it's said that the older that we get, the more we show and identify with our sun sign. So when you are young in your 30s, and then, in your, well, let's just rephrase that, because to me that's young, but for some young people that's not young. So when you're in your teens and when you're in your 20s, you might get from people, you don't seem like a Virgo, you don't seem like a Leo, you don't seem like a Capricorn. And that's because we are we show people, or what people perceive of us is, when they first meet us, they meet your ascending sign. But as you get older, your sun sign starts you start being true to that. In other words, I think that's what that means. You surrender yourself to your sun sign. Yeah, fun fact. So moon sign. The moon sign represents your emotional self, your sensitivity, your emotions, your mood, your heart, your shadow. And it also represents how you love. Um, it gives you a clue of what you like in relationships and how relationships will be fulfilled. Um, Sometimes people relate more to their moon sign than their sun sign. I think I just told you that. Your moon sign is your emotional sign, and so you feel more connected to that sign. So I'm going to give you again the same example. When I show up, um, and you don't know me, I probably feel more connected to my moon sign, because that's who I am when I'm alone. And at the same time, when they say that it gives you a clue, when you know your moon sign, it gives you a clue of what you like in relationships. And when I say relationships, I'm not only talking about love relationships, I'm also talking about relationships in general, with your family, with your friends, and relationships in your career, with your relationship with money. um so for me, my moon sign is Capricorn, and a lot of those traits that a Capricorn has, when I'm alone with myself, or when I want to feel fulfilled in a relationship, my I feel more connected to the archetypes of a Capricorn, which is leadership, and uh, the father figure, and definitely uh, very hard on myself when it comes to achievement. Putting goals, placing goals, and making sure that I do those things. And if I don't, I totally, totally am my hardest critic when it comes to that. Um, and that's why I feel more connected to that sign, um, when I'm vulnerable. your ascending sign. Your ascending sign, which is also called your rising sign, is the mask to the world. It's how people perceive you. It's first impressions. And, you know, they see you in a certain way when they first meet you, and then they get to know you and realize you're not your ascending. And it's how you appear to others. So I'm going to give you another example. I'm going to be using myself actually. I'm going to be using myself as example because I know me better than anyone. So I'll use me. My ascending is Leo, and I'm a Leo rising. And I know that you've heard me in the past say Virgo rising, but I definitely had the time of my birth chart incorrect. So that's why it said Virgo. It was very close because after Leo is Virgo. So I can totally relate. But the OCD and the organization traits that I have has nothing to do with my Virgo sign. It had to do with my Capricorn sign. So it makes sense now. Anyway, I'm gonna give you an example. So I'm a Leo rising, and what that means for me is that when you first meet me, and I walk into a room, um, I I draw attention, right? Um, I'm a performer. I am generous, and I think Madonna, you know? That would be me. And that's what you see. And it's easy to think, huh, this person is outgoing and maybe selfish. Um or not loud, but a performer, an entertainer. And I'm not. I'm a, when you get to know me, you'd be like, oh, okay. No, she's not that. She's not selfish. She thinks about other people. Or, um, she looks generous, but she's thoughtful. She doesn't just, give it all out like that. Or she's not a performer. She actually likes to be okay. She's a social person, but at the same time, she likes to be home, isolated. So, yeah. Anyway, that's a lot. Um, so yeah, so depending on your birth chart, you will find that the archetype of your sign um, makes sense to you. But I'm gonna give a good way to make sense of your birth chart. You can use this. I'm gonna give you a sentence that I learned a while ago. So you get a pen, paper, or whatever you guys use. You probably use like your smartphone, um, and you write down, "I am a blank with a soul of blank, wearing a mask of a blank." So I'm gonna plug in my signs so you can see how it makes more sense of what I just told you about your sun sign, rising sign, and moon sign. So I am a Scorpio with a soul of a Capricorn, wearing a mask of a Leo. That's how it makes sense to me in my brain when you ask people, what are your signs, your astrological birth chart signs. Depending on your birth chart, you will find that the archetype of your sign, you can find that out. Look up, research what is the archetype of these signs. And it's too much for me to go through it right now. That will be like a second episode. But you look that up, and whatever trait stands out the most, you plug that in on those sentences. So for someone like me, that I am a Scorpio with a soul of a Capricorn, wearing a mask of a Leo, I will plug in the archetype, the archetype. So I would say I will go deeper than just saying Scorpio, Capricorn, Leo. so you can kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about, I would say something like, I am a person who transforms desires and power, because that's what Scorpios, that's what the archetype of a Scorpio is: transforms desires and power. Those are the two words that really define Scorpio. And with a soul that seeks structure and achievement. And those are the two words that, for me, describes a Capricorn. That's the archetype of a Capricorn: structure and achievement. And I'm wearing a mask of creativity and a big heart. And I have a big heart. And those are the archetype of a Leo. So I would say I am a Scorpio with a soul of a Capricorn, wearing a mask of a Leo. Or you can say to yourself, I am a person who transformed desires into power, with a soul of that seeks structure and achievement, wearing a mask of creativity with a big heart. And that's fun, don't you think? Okay, wait. My cue cards are stuck. Okay, so let's talk about the components of the birth chart. They are 12 signs. Um, and a lot of people don't know this. And like I said, I know more than what I thought I knew, but I am not an expert. So if you're an expert, you might want to email me or DM me and send me more information, or maybe you want to be on the show and we can dig into this. But they are 12 signs, zodiac signs, and the zodiac sign starts with Aries and it ends in Pisces. There are 10 planets, and we include the sun and the moon as planets because although the sun and the moon aren't planets, they are celestial bodies. They are 12 houses on the birth chart. Um, they are positioned from 1 to 12, like a clock on the birth chart. Each house represents a specific area of your life. So stay with me. So there are 12 zodiac signs. It starts from Aries and it ends in Pisces. At least now you know that, because a lot of people don't know where it starts, the zodiac sign. And it is said that the Aries is the child of the zodiac sign, that Capricorn is the father, and there's a lot of stuff that is said. But anyway, that's not relevant. Your chart. Let's stick to the chart, people. So there are 12 zodiac signs, and there are 12 houses on your birth chart. And you'll see that it looks like a clock. And they are positioned, all 12 houses are positioned around the clock, clockwise. And each house represents a specific area of your life. The planets. So there's some planets that you're going to also find on this chart, and the planets correspond to different mind functions, mental functions, whether it's ego, whether it's your aggression, communication, and social status. The houses represent the area of your life, like personality, partnership, career, friends, and troubles. When you see a birth chart, you see a bunch of scattered planets and symbols around the graph. It's a circle, and you'll see 12 signs. In the middle, you'll see notations for the numbers. So you'll see numbers in the middle, and the numbers will be Roman numerals. And this will tell you which house they are in. So the Roman numerals will be from 1 through 12, and um, it'll let you know that those are the houses. When you're looking at your birth chart, it is recommended to look at the planets. It is very recommended that you look at the planets because the planets will tell you the what. Again, the houses will represent um, areas of your life: personality, partnership, career, friends, and houses. And the planets will tell you the what. The planets means that the mental function, as in communication, aggression, temperament, or other things, the signs that land in the how and in the why. So, in other words, you have houses from 1 through 12, and then you have planets. And the planets will tell you the how and the why. The sign the sign is the personality, the characteristics, the help. You you understand the how and the why of that mental function. And lastly, the house that planet is the house that the planet is in tells you what area of your life is mostly happening in. It's not easy. It's mainly intuitive, and it takes practice to understand the birth chart. There's more details, but I'm also learning. The general shape of a birth chart is a circle. Then you see a horizontal line and a vertical line. And this is the fun part, because if you have more planets um, grouped in a certain area, it means something, which I didn't know. So you have a circle, you have a horizontal line, and then you have a vertical line. And if your planets are grouped on a specific area, a lot of them in one area of the chart, that means something. Um, so, for example, more planets on the upper hemisphere of your chart, it's called objectivity. So if a lot of your planets are on the top, that's called objectivity. And that means that a lot of your life's challenges, battles, um, a lot of your life's moments are public, and that you're learning and evolving in the public space on a public scale. And it's interesting because when I was looking at my chart, mm, most of my planets are aligned on a on the objectivity side of um of my of my chart. And it makes sense because a lot of the stuff that I go through, or I am learning in front of people, learning and sharing. And yeah, it's me. um so if you have more planets on the lower side in the southern hemisphere of your chart, then that is called subjectivity, and it means that most of your life's battles and challenges will be within. Therefore, they are um, insecurities or um, inner work shadow that you're working through, that are within, that you got to go within to fix. Not to fix them, but to grow and to work through them. Um, and the upper part is more public. Um, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So the upper hemisphere is public and lower hemisphere is private. And personally, my birth chart, I have a lot of the planets on the upper northern hemisphere, and meaning a lot of my life's battles and challenges are public, and that things I have to go through are externally, that they come from situations and things around me. So not really inner conflicts. They're mainly the challenges that I will have in my life, or that I have in my life, or had in the past in my life, have been externally, have been situational. It has not been um, inner inner conflicts or inner issues, which is interesting because didn't I never even thought of that, right? So another thing to look at is whether your planets are placed to the left or the right of the graph. So on the graph, like I said, there's a vertical line and no, horizontal line and a vertical line, and on the left side, and then there's a right side. On the top, is objectivity if you have a lot of planets on the top, and if you have a lot of planets on the bottom, is subjectivity. If you have a lot of planets on the east, on the left side, it signifies you have a lot of freedom. And then when most of your planets are on the west side, it's fate. On the right side is fate. So I have most of my planets on the top, and most of my planets are on the right. So basically, my fate and destiny is written. Um, when most of your planets are on the left side, you have a lot of free will to create your own your own destiny. You have a lot of freedom. Um, this side of life is basically a blank slate. You have more free will to take your life anywhere you like. If more planets are on the right side, which is on the east side of the chart, the fate side, a lot of your life situations are predetermined. And and if you believe in fate, remember that you still have a choice, and that you still have a choice to be flexible, and you still have a choice to make choices. So it's there, it's predetermined, but you still have a choice. Okay? So it's not written on stone, it's just written on the stars. Next, let's talk about lunar nodes. They look like horseshoes. This is really, really fun too because they are two nodes. And I remember watching Walter Mercado when I was little, and how my grandmother and my aunt used to be like, shh, what this on? You have to be quiet. And then we had to be quiet and listen. And he would talk about the zodiac signs. And the zodiac sign is just for entertainment, guys. Because it's like the weather. Like it's a they predict, they predict the weather according to your sign. But most of the times, just because the weather person said it's gonna rain, it might not rain. So, and it rains in the on another side of the country, on another side of geographically, and it makes sense to that person, but it might not make sense to you because you live in Miami and or in LA and it's not raining. So you have to keep an open mind with that. However, he will have sometimes an specials, and he'll dive into your notes, and I never understood it. I just wondered, and I just loved it, and I listened carefully, but I never understood the notes. So I kind of do now. So there are two nodes, and they're like notations. One is on the south node, and the other is the north node. They look like horseshoes. You'll see them. Sometimes you only see the north node, and that will be right on top of your chart. Your north node will be on top of the chart, and then it will be a line across, a 180-degree line across it. And that on the bottom is your south node. If you don't see the horseshoe, that is still your south node. So it will land on another sign. There's the south node, and that's who you used to be. That's your past lives, your automatic behavior, your instinct behavior, your karma, your karmatic past, your lessons, your comfort zone, and that is your safe route. Um, why do they call it your safe route? Because you've been there, done that, you mastered that already. That is your south node. It lands on a zodiacal sign. And then your north node will be on the top, and that also lands on another sign, usually right across the south one. Hold on, let me have a drink. Mhm. Excuse me. So the north node tells you where you should go if you want to have your most growth. The nodes are 180 degrees apart, and that's as far as it stretches. You're not going to be able to go more than more than your north node, or you're not going to be able to go um, to the past. You're not going to go past your south node. That's how much it is, period. Um, so they're literally across from each other on the both on the birth chart, and meaning that this is the most you can grow. You're just trying to stretch yourself to be the most complete opposite of what you used to be. So south tells you where you've been, and north tells you where you should go, where the work needs to be done, where you're going to be uncomfortable. You can either choose your south node and be comfortable there because you already know what to do, what you mastered, and be okay with that. And that's fine. Or you can choose your north node because that's where you're going to experience the most challenges, the most uncomfortable experiences, but they're going to propel you to evolve. Um, the north tells you where you should go, where you kind of have to grow towards, because your south you already conquered. I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to use, of course, my chart. My south node is in Aries, and my north node is in Libra. um, so it took me some time to research and find what that means, and what should I be doing, and what did I do. Um, you can do the same. That's information that it's in the books, in the app, and the website that I shared with you. It gives you a clue on how you can become more like your north sign. How can you grow in that direction and leave the south node personality behind, because you already done that. If you want to challenge like something new, look into the north node. So if you feel like you're missing an experience, that you're stagnating, that your spirit is telling you that there's more, but you just don't know um, what that more is, then look into your north node, look at it, look it up, and see which one is yours, and then strive for that, because that's where you're going to find your experience that's going to expand you. So let's explore this. Um, I looked into it, and my North Node is in Libra, meaning it's all about balance without leaving yourself. Because with Libra, they are all about balance and non confrontational, but they might have what is called, like, they do for a lot for others, and sometimes they don't have a balance. That could happen, not all the time, but sometimes they forget about themselves in the situation, in the balance situation. So my south side is in Aries, and I have to leave my Aries behind because I already conquered that. And it takes a long time to get the hang of it, but your north side is always there. Um, it's quietly working in your favor and offering you some of life's profound lessons. So what you'll find is that your your north and your south nodes are always having a push and pull energy. Push and pull, push and pull. That's why sometimes you kind of make decisions that are challenging you to go there, to get something new and you're kind of uncomfortable. It's a challenge, but then you pull back and and you go where you are comfortable. And for me, if my south node is on Aries, most of the times it can mean for me that I am overly rely on myself, that I prioritize my independence, and that I am always asserting myself, and that I can be impatient. Um, those are things that I already conquered, and those are things that make me feel comfortable. Um, I don't feel uncomfortable when I'm impulsive. I, but I am, but I conquered that. That lesson was learned. Those are things that I already know. Um, so I have to work on in order for me to have a new challenge, new territory. Um, I have to work on the Libra um, North North Node, which is it's about prioritizing partnership and connection and fairness and being passive and keeping peace um, and balance, like I said before. And that's something that is challenging for me because I've been totally prioritizing my independence and always, even when I am in a relationship, I do that, and sometimes that always takes precedence over a connection, and so it's a challenge for me. And it's good that I know that now so that I can work on that so that way I can have a better experience. It's impossible to know where you're going without understanding where you've been. So the nodes is very, very, very important because when you understand where you've been, what you've done, and what the lesson was, then you know where you're going. It is easy to learn and lean into your south side attributes because it's your familiar territory. Neglecting your north side, though, will lead you to an unfulfilled um, feeling. That's why sometimes you talk to people and you see that they have it all. You can totally see it, and you'll tell them you have it all, but they'll tell you, yeah, but something is missing. And I would probably consider looking at my north side and say, okay, what's missing? And then see what that sign is and what are their archetype for that sign. So that way you know what's missing. And you feel a little bit more fulfilled if it makes woo woo sense, magic sense. Um, so I have to lean or learn to find balance between my independence and my desire for a connection. Um, you don't have to abandon one desire to fulfill the other. Like I said, it's push and pull. It's a balance. Astrology. Astrology reminds us that too much of one thing usually um, won't be the best for us. That in order to find happiness, we must step out of our comfort zones and into unfamiliar territory. And that's what I got from the north and the south side. I just wrote that because um, I feel like um, it's a balance. Everything is a balance. Too much of everything, it's not fulfilling, right? And that's what astrology reminds us. Not only is it fun to know um, your birth chart, but it's also understanding um, where where your peace comes from, your responsibilities, and and where certain traits come from and what we've conquered and where we're going. So the second part of this will be where I get into your zodiac sign and explain houses and more in detail. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that only because this is such a big topic, but introduction is important. You need to know in order for to understand later on your zodiacal archetype, you need to know, I recommend that you know your sun sign, your moon sign, and your ascending sign. And another thing before we close, I want to invite you to review, rate this podcast. Why? Because you're fucking dope. That's why. I appreciate that you guys text me, DM me, email me, but mostly DM me how you like it or what didn't you like or how it resonated with you. But as a creator, the Leo in me likes to be validated and enjoys that you do that. However, I know that you're fucking dope and that you're going to review and rate this podcast. If you are a part of the LGBT community or the WISE, which means the 45-year-olds or older community, please let me know how can I support you and include you in our conversation. Email me if maybe you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to contribute, or if you have someone that you know that would love to contribute to the show, you can do that. You can email me at theartofhappyher@escthenetwork.com or DM me at happyherartistry. I've been told I am very responsive to my DMs. You can do that. And please don't forget to contribute to the sustainability of this podcast. You can go to our sister network, which is the El Salon Network, or you can Cash App me and all the information, or Venmo, and all the information will be there on the bottom of the episode information. Thank you, and I see you on the second part.